I think the movie After Yang is about what it means to be an Asian American. Let me explain. Hey everyone, it's David Chen. I typically talk about TV, films, and technology on this channel. Feel free to hit like or subscribe, hit that bell icon to get notifications if you enjoy. Let's get into it. After Yang is the newest film by writer-director Kogonada. It's based off of a short story by Alexander Weinstein, and it's streaming right now on Showtime. The movie tells the story of a family, Jake and Kira, and their daughter Mika, who is a transracial adoptee. The family has acquired a robot, or technosapient in the lingo of the film, called Yang. You see, in the future, there are many different kinds of technosapients, and Yang is a cultural technosapient. So his purpose is to give Mika more context about China, historical facts, and information about what it's like to be in China and China's history. The rationale of the parents is because they don't have Chinese backgrounds. They want her to have some kind of connection with her culture. Yang serves as that connection. The movie kicks off when Yang starts malfunctioning, and then Jake needs to try to find a way to repair or replace him, and that's basically what happens throughout the entire film. If you're just looking for a quick opinion on the film and whether you should watch it, I'll say I really liked it. I think it's beautiful, it's lyrical. The way it uses editing and cinematography to evoke memory is really powerful, and it asks questions that the big sci-fi films ask. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be part of a family? These kinds of questions that I think are really beautifully brought up in the film. Anyway, I think it's worth checking out. Now, before I proceed with any further interpretation, I do want to give a couple of caveats. Number one, I think After Yang is about many things and many topics and has many themes. So when I say something like After Yang is about what it means to be an Asian American, that's only one of the many things that it's about, and I don't think that's exclusively what it's about, so just keep that in mind. Number two, I can only share what my own personal experiences are like with the movie, and you might have had an extremely different experience watching the film. So you might disagree with this interpretation. That's okay. Feel free to let me know in the comments respectfully. I'd be interested to hear what your interpretation of the film was and what it's about. Finally, I'm going to give away some details that people might consider to be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, bookmark this video, watch the movie, come back. Okay, so how and why is After Yang about being Asian American? The construct of the movie is that Colin Farrell's character Jake figures out a way to tap into Yang's memories, and so he's watching scenes that Yang has witnessed before and learning about Yang and Yang's place in the world through these memories. And we learn all about how Yang has interacted with the family and all these little details about China that he has explained to people, like butterflies and how the Chinese think about and handle tea and the history of tea in China and these kinds of things. But there's a critical scene in the movie that really encapsulated the whole film for me. You see, Colin Farrell's character Jake sells tea, which is obviously a big deal in China. And there's a scene where he's explaining how he fell in love with tea, reciting a Werner Herzog monologue, and then sharing with Yang kind of his motivations, the things that tea evokes, and they share a cup of tea. And Yang can't seem to really understand what tea is to Colin Farrell on a deep level.
I wish I felt something deeper about tea. I wish I had a real memory of tea in China.
There's many feelings that this scene evoked for me, but fundamentally, it's this feeling that you as an Asian American are supposed to have access to something that you don't. As an Asian American in this country, if you're from East Asia or South Asia, people immediately recognize from just looking at you that you're not from here. And they'll want to know where you're from and what language you speak and where you're really from. And these things are very alienating and othering, and we've talked about this in popular culture for many years, so I don't think any of this is new. But what After Yang added to my recognition of this phenomenon is this idea of you look the part, you can even speak the part. Maybe you have a lot of facts about where you're from, but there's this expectation of you should know what it means to be Asian, or you should know all about your homeland and things like that. Coupled with the fact that on some level you will never really deeply understand it. If you're an immigrant like myself, you will never know what it means to grow up in Taiwan or Hong Kong or China because you didn't. And so there are things about what it means to be from those countries, to grow up in those countries that you'll just never have access to, even though from all external metrics, people already think of you that way. When I was in college, I took a class called Asian American Literature, and it really opened my eyes to a world of literature that I never had access to before, never even thought about. I read books like Maxine Hong Kingston's Chinaman and Yokohama, California by Toshio Mori. And I remember reading these books and feeling this deep sense of longing, because many of these books are about people who immigrated here in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. They were part of American history, I felt. And how could my family's history compare? We came here in the 80s. You know, there's nothing interesting about us. I wanted to have a rich history in America that went back for generations. I wanted my ancestors to have been at major world events or be able to tell me about what it was like to, see someone land on the moon from their country. It was this really strange desire that I had never felt before. Now, what I didn't realize at the time is that we are all still living in history right now. History is happening all around us. And whether or not we came here in the 30s or the 80s or the 2010s, we are part of American history. We're helping to define it as we speak. And that is really beautiful and empowering, and it's also quite terrifying. But the point I want to make is that I had never seen that longing, that desire, that yearning ever really reflected in a movie until I saw After Yang, until I saw that scene. That scene captures for me what it means to have all the intellectual knowledge and none of the emotional knowledge that would make that vision complete. In the movie After Yang, I also found it quite purposeful that the mother in the family is black and the father is white. In my entire life, watching pop culture, TV shows, films in America, the overwhelmingly vast majority of stories are of white people and black people. And so many of these stories are incredible, and they've been inspiring, and they've defined who I am and how I view the world and how I consume art. And I'm grateful to have been able to watch and listen to and experience all of it. But there have been relatively few stories in which Asian Americans are the central characters or the protagonists. And watching this movie, it struck me that this movie is kind of about what the role of Asian Americans are in society. They're often these helper people that can be commodified, as they are literally in this film, which is a pretty dark vision of society, except of course that the movie is ultimately about this family recognizing Yang's humanity and accepting him as part of their family. That's what makes this movie so beautiful and so hopeful. The movie is called After Yang, and Yang dies in the first 5 minutes of the movie. But ultimately the movie is about this family trying to come to terms with the loss of Yang, learning who Yang really was, and then recognizing their love for Yang. And that's why I feel this movie is about what it means to be an Asian American. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of the movie. What did you think the themes of the movie were that resonated most for you? Feel free to hit me up in the comments and hit like, subscribe, hit that bell icon if you want to get more videos from me. I want to thank all my patrons at patreon.com/DaveChen. Thank you so much. Be sure to sign up at patreon.com/DaveChen for exclusive audio as well as access to my Twitter Space office hours. All right, folks, until next time, see you in the next one.